of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good afternoon and welcome. Happy New Year and welcome to our January Town Board meeting. It is the first official meeting of the year. We did have our organizational meeting earlier in the month where we adopted our rules and did all of the other business. I have a few comments and then I'm going to ask the town attorney to share something with you. This is the month we commemorate the birthday of Dr. King, the only federal holiday designated as a National Day of Service, encouraging all Americans to volunteer and join in the efforts to improve their communities in whatever small way they can, with a call to action for each of us to seek ways to engage and give back to the communities we live in. Hopefully, we will carry that spirit with us each and every day throughout the year. Yesterday, January 27th, marked International Holocaust Remembrance Day, a solemn day of reflection as we honor the memory of the 6 million Jewish victims and millions others who perished during the Holocaust. This date serves as a powerful reminder of our collective responsibility to combat anti-Semitism, hatred, and injustice in all forms. In our town of Islip, we join communities worldwide in recommitting ourselves to ensuring that the voices of survivors continue to educate future generations. Through our Town of Islip Unity Council, we have been privileged to host Holocaust survivor Edith Gross of Oakdale, whose powerful story of survival and hope has educated and inspired countless students and community members. The new year also wasted no time in reminding us that the winter weather is truly upon us. Be it snow, ice, or freezing temperatures, there are many hazards residents should prepare for. A reminder that we must all do our part to keep roads clear and free of obstructions so that the plows and emergency vehicles can pass safely and effectively during the winter storm events. Please remember to remove your vehicles off the streets and into your driveway. During snow emergency, residents are able to park on their lawns if they have to in order to keep the vehicles off the road so the plows can really do their job curb to curb. I encourage all to head to our website and sign up for e-alerts. It's the fastest way to get essential information regarding Islip Town news as well as up-to-the-minute weather-related information. I also want to extend, on behalf of myself and the town board, a sincere thank you to the dedicated crews and DPW staff on their outstanding work removing snow and helping keep Islip clear and safe as possible. Lastly, as we chart our course for the next 2 decades and beyond through our comprehensive TOI 360 planning initiative, we're approaching a critical milestone in our community engagement process. Islip Future needs your voice. The public survey deadline is approaching and all responses must be submitted by February 15th. Your insights for our town are invaluable in helping us chart a vision that truly represents our diverse community. Additionally, for those who missed our January 8th public workshop, a reminder that both the meeting summary and recording are available online. These resources provide valuable insights into the community's discussion so far and the planning process ahead. Don't miss a chance to influence Islip's future. You can find the workshop materials and complete the public survey at www.toi360.com. So I thank you for that. And I would like to ask the town attorney, among the things that were conducted at the organizational meeting were the adoption of our rules, and in particular, I would like him to share the rules of decorum as pertains to addressing the town board and participating in the process, if you would.
Good afternoon. Specifically, I'm going to read rule number 6 of the rules of decorum. the use of profane, vulgar, inflammatory, threatening, abusive, or disparaging language or racial or ethnic slurs directed at the supervisor, members of the town board, town officials or employees, and members of the general public, or statements by a person attending the meeting which are made during the public participation segment of the agenda or during a public hearing shall not be tolerated. Any individual that uses profane, vulgar, inflammatory, threatening, abusive, or disparaging language or racial or ethnic slurs directed at any member of the town board, town employees, or any members of the general public shall be removed from the meeting.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to be sure that everyone was aware of that. It's something that's been there for years and years. We have not really employed removing anyone who has violated the rules, but I do believe that we've gotten a lot of comments about some of the disrespectful dialogue that's taken place, and we will, in fact, be engaging that. So we can agree, we can disagree, but let's do it respectfully. Right now, we will begin this afternoon. We have 2 scheduled public hearings for the board's consideration, and I would ask the town clerk to please read the first hearing notice.
Thank you, Madam Supervisor. Item number 1, to adopt the Town of Islip 2025 capital budget that was adjourned at the Islip Town Budget Hearing, November 7th, 2024.
We do not have anyone who has signed up to speak on the budget. I would ask our controller, Joe Ludwig, to please come forward.
Joseph Ludwig, Controller for the Town of Islip, 401 Main Street. Good afternoon, Madam Supervisor, members of the Town Board. What you guys have in front of you is the proposed capital budget for 2025. It takes us from 2025 through 2028. Obviously, 26 through 28 are all estimates because what happens today is going to be very different than what's going to happen tomorrow. But the grand total, and I apologize for not having the exact numbers off my head, it's in the $42 million range, which is about where we've been for the last several years, give or take. And the most boring part of the capital budget speech that I give to you guys every year is that this is, for the most part, the same boilerplate type projects we do year in, year out. Not a lot of fancy things, not a lot of crazy things, but unfortunately, as a township, we have things we have to maintain: roads, drainage, buildings, parks, and that usually eats up the majority of our capital budget. I do want to point out a couple of things that are somewhat newish. We have a proposed number in there for the design service to start on the Casamento pool. We've already done Roberto Clemente. We've also done Byron Lake. So Casamento is the last on the agenda. This starts that ball rolling. We also have 2 specific drainage projects. Just to jump back to last year real quick, when we were using the ARPA funds, in conjunction with the Commissioner of DPW, we had identified an outflow, if I'm using the right term, that had drainage issues and runoff, and we were allowed to use ARPA money for it. The Commissioner had also identified 2 other locations, one in Sayville and one in Bayshore. We did not have the funding at the time. Those 2 projects, and I believe they're the first 2 listed under the DPW section.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the other 2 locations that the DPW Commissioner had identified. Again, kind of a little bit different. They are replacing the pump generators so that when those roads do flood, the pumps will have a better opportunity, if my understanding is correct, if I remember correctly. The pumps that are getting put in are better, more powerful, and we're attaching a backup generator to them so that if there is an electrical failure, they will still be able to run, hopefully for as long as we need them till the electric comes back up. Outside of that, there really isn't a lot within the capital budget that's different than what we've done in previous years. You'll see we're still doing some turf fields. Like I said, the drainage number has increased because we are having drainage issues throughout the town of Islip. We are trying to address them. I'm trying to go through this real quick, and I apologize. If you guys have any specific questions, that would bail me out big time.
A dedicated line for paving, not just road and but parking lots also, sidewalks, traffic safety improvements. It's a commitment on the town's part to go from east-west north to south and address the roads that are neediest first. That has been the policy, and we've been following through on that, and there is funding in there for that. We have been looking to get grant funding to cover some of this. A lot of times, the money has to be expended first before we get the grant proceeds. Sometimes not, but, having it in this document, and again, this is really a planning document, just because we hopefully adopt it today doesn't mean we're going forward with it, because each and every project would have to come before the town board for the appropriate appropriation for whichever project,
Once
we're
again, Madam
addressing at that
Supervisor, you
time.
steal the words right out of my mouth. Yes, this is, I like to say, this is the first wrap at the apple for you folks. There will be a second round where you guys are going to have to say yay or nay to projects and how we're going to fund them. 90% of our projects, when we do them, are funded through bond resolutions, which you all went through last year. But to the supervisor's point, sometimes they are grants. You guys will adopt those grant resolutions. If we're going to fund it from an operating transfer, there'll be a transfer that comes before the board. So don't think that adopting this today locks anybody into any of the projects or the numbers that are even listed here. There will be at least one more wrap at the apple to make suggestions, changes, tweaks. Departments who had plans to do something September of last year, that project may now be pushed off for whatever reason. So just please understand, this is a work in process. We will tweak it and tailor it to come up to what we actually will be able to do, the money that we can actually spend reasonably within 2025, because it does not make sense to borrow money that we're not going to use. Why pay the debt service on it? So there will be another wrap for you guys to take a look at this.
And also, when Joe refers to the bonding with our outstanding credit rating, now's the time to do this project, these projects.
Correct.
Or some of them, anyway. Also, too, Joe mentioned we're still committing funding to some turf fields, but also there's $500,000 for park improvements, also playground equipment, repairs to courts and ball fields. Also, we're addressing cybersecurity and our technology and IT needs, so that we're not vulnerable to any cyber attacks that may happen, or if they do happen, that we can address them, seamlessly, which we did 2 years ago on
Correct.
Thanksgiving weekend. So I think to all of the departments that participated and worked with the Controller's Office on crafting this, I just want to say thanks. We really appreciate all your efforts. I think you kind of touched on all the points that we need to address.
They do their best. Again, it is very much like filling out your Christmas list, in early December that you give to your parents, because it's going to go to Santa, but it's just your parents. And, as much as we would all love to do every project that's listed, it's just not feasible and it's not reasonable that we're going to get them all done. So we have to pick and choose to make sure we get the right ones done that we can get done.
Are there any questions for the Controller at this time? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing and adopt the resolution.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Councilman O'Connor. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Hearing is closed, and the capital budget plan is adopted. Thank you. Madam Clerk, if you would please read the next hearing notice.
Item number 2, to consider amending the Islip Uniform Traffic Code.
Any questions? Again, there are no cards. Anyone wishing to speak on this? Is there a motion?
Motion.
A motion by Councilman O'Connor.
Second.
Second by Councilman Guadrone. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Okay, we will continue then. That concludes our public hearings for the day. And we have a number of cards. People have signed up to speak. Just to remind everyone, Rule 6. And first speaker, Katie Huggins, or Kate Huggins.
Afternoon. This is in reference to a property at 60,
Could you speak into the microphone so that we
Yes,
can
I'm
hear you?
sorry.
Thank you.
okay,
You can move it over if you
with a
want.
soft voice.
Yeah.
Although no one would agree with that. I'm here representing my brother, who is the owner of a property at 60 West Drive. He lives in California. But I did live in the house that was on that property that burned to the ground in 2009. I was a Connecticut. My kids went through the Connecticut School District. I lived in Islip for 25 years. My brother has been trying to pursue a variance to rebuild a house on that property. I know that there have been some problems with, he's now dealing with complaints about vegetation on the property. I've gone there. I don't know exactly what the plans are. I wanted to just, I'm here because he asked me to be here. He wanted to know that he wants to continue to try to build a house, which would be lovely because I would get to live in it and come back home to Iceland, back home to Ronkonkoma. I'm living in that other town a little further east. I know that there was an investigator there, and they're planning some sort of cleanup. I don't know if that can be delayed until the spring. I mean, it's just me, widowed. There's a shed on the property that still has some of my belongings in it that I would like the opportunity to go through. I just physically now with the weather and trying to find somebody to help me deal with that problem. And as I said, he does want to continue to try to rebuild a house, ever hopeful.
Okay, well, thank you for coming down. I'm sure he appreciates you making the effort on his behalf.
I hope so.
The attorney or someone from the town attorney's office will be going over those resolutions, and obviously your brother's parcel is in there too, and we will make sure he takes notice.
Is there a timeline for this? Is there any?
It's certainly not immediate. If the resolution passes today, which it's very likely it will, they will take note of the fact that you're down here and have asked for a little bit more time, so I don't.
Okay, so they wouldn't do it before they would let us know that they're planning to
No,
go
I
there?
do believe there is notification that is done, but we will confirm that when the town attorney comes up.
I thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome.
you.
Thank you for coming down.
Have a lovely day, all. Thank you.
You too. Next speaker, Pat Montanino.
I just have copies here to go to each council person and one for our record. Thank you. Supervisor, you already have copies of all of this with the corner that needed a blinking light, so there wasn't a copy made for you because you've already had this and ignored it. What you'll see on those copies, that is a bus stop at that corner, and the day that one bus was stopped there were over 5 cop cars, there were suits from the bus company. That is a bus stop. No one stops for that corner there going down Timber Point, even town vehicles. And it's all documented. You have copies of it and have chosen to ignore it. Your last 2 copies, it's the same thing. When people fly down Timber Point, we had to stop the other day because 30 turkeys were crossing the road, which we get all through the year. It's no big deal, but you need to stop. But when you have the cars flying through, the guy behind me was beeping and beeping. He wanted me to run over the turkeys, a guy from FedEx. Now, I do have the picture of him because I'm not going to tolerate that, okay? Over 30 turkeys, and you see the pictures there. Then your final picture is of Brookwood Hall. You just dug up to make a parking lot. What about the lake that's there? It is falling apart. You're going to wait to put the parking lot in. Then you're going to have the lake bust open and ruin it. So then you have to hire the pavers back to do more work, because this is how you work. You keep going over and over. Just like you're supporting JetBlue from MacArthur Airport, a troubled airline with recent struggles, a $60 million net loss, dropping of 15 stations in the Northeast and 50 more routes. The U.S. Department of Transportation slapped them with a $2 million penalty fine for chronic delays, which is not prohibited by DOT. This is who you chose to come here, and you're so happy about it, and lying to all the public about all your stories.
Thank you very much,
A very big
Mrs.
habit
Montanino.
of yours.
And
Thank you.
just to remind you,
Thank you. This is not an
copies
answer.
of Rule 6
question
are
at all.
outside in the hall. I suggest you take one and read it. Next speaker, Andy Cross.
And once again, I'm here about the NYS real property tax law line on my tax bill. When the tax went up 41%, you said it was due to the price of housing tanking. With the price of housing going up every month now, why is the tax still on the tax bill? And how could it go up a ridiculous 103% this year? Does anybody on the town board have a clue how to run a tax? Anyone who voted for this 103% tax rise should resign. If you don't have a clue to raise taxes, that proves that you don't have a clue how to run town government. Seeing the town supervisor and the county executive raising taxes for the new sewer line in central Islip, $1 million on town taxpayers and $1.5 million on county taxpayers for 60-something commercial tax is outrageous. Did anybody look into this fiasco? $1 million on Islip taxpayers comes out to like $15,000 per business. Can we really afford to tax people for this? Has anybody even looked into how many of these businesses are gonna hook up to this? Where you said 60-something, I'm saying 10. Rather than the $15,000, it raises the tax significantly. What about the sewer district? Has anybody looked into if there was enough space remaining in it to handle increased sewage? Did you just get into this tax deal because you voted with the county executive? And on the agenda, it's like number 17, all of them ambulance services should be voted down because we don't need ambulance services when we have an ambulance service with the fire district. So if we're paying taxes for the fire district for an ambulance, why should we pay for taxes for all these ambulance companies and then pay
Thank you, Mr. Cross. Next speaker, Jamie Siegel. I know.
Good afternoon, Town Board, Supervisor. Happy New Year to everybody. I haven't seen most
Same
of
to
you
you.
this
Nice
year.
to see you, Mr. Siegel.
The photos on the board that my friends that I've met today are holding represent what I like to call a Central Islip Quality of Life project. It was a painstaking effort that took me through a large quadrant of our hamlet, studying about 25% of the area, spending hours discovering my community. I noticed since moving into the town 9 years ago that certain issues seem to repeat themselves. And my hope is that by highlighting these issues, we can improve the overall quality of life in the area. And being that Passover's in April, I also ask myself the question, why is this hamlet different than other hamlets? And why is Central Islip different? Because if I drive through Sayville or Oakdale, I don't see the repetitive nature of the violations. The number of unregistered vehicles, both on the street and on private property, was staggering. I called the town and police, and they did address most of the ones on the street, but the ones on private property are different. Properties with vehicles parked on the grass, it was a blatant occurrence. Properties cleared beyond 40% where the paved portion or dirt portion was just used for blatant parking of commercial vehicles, and that's a recurring issue also. There were large trucks, trailers, and other such vehicles that littered the landscape. These are over 300 pictures of them. College Woods, which was a part of our community that once was the beacon for change, is not exempt from these issues and is showing signs of aging without any indication that problems are being addressed before they get out of hand. My belief is that some residents may not be aware of some of the basic code enforcement rules and may need to be educated. I also believe that these quality of life issues are addressed, if the quality of life issues are addressed by the town, it will improve the life of all the residents. I thank you all for what you do for the town. I really appreciate it. It doesn't go unnoticed. And keep up the good work, but please help Central Islip.
Thank you very much, Jamie. You know, you raised a very good point about residents not necessarily knowing what code violations are and what they should be calling in to report so that we can address them in a timely fashion. And perhaps through the CI Civic Council and the Coalition of Good Neighbors, which are two very active organizations in Central Islip, we might want to consider doing some sort of a little education seminar, bringing someone from public safety down and letting people know what is.
I also noticed that Councilman Quadron had been handing out some literature about certain need for building permits and how to do changes. And I thought that that was very helpful. And if we can get more of that type of literature to distribute and that was available, I think it would be helpful.
Great, thank you. Next speaker, Susan Pellegrino.
Good afternoon, Supervisor and Town Board members. I participated in this project, so I'm not going to repeat the well-thought-out presentation that Jamie made. I do agree that part of this is a product of people not being aware of it, but I think at this point, the scale and scope of these problems is going to require a partnership between code enforcement and residents, because the town operates on a response-based code enforcement. I also wanted to address the fact that, and compliment code enforcement, they're doing the best job they can, but we consistently have short staff in this department. And I know during the election year November 2023, it was brought up that we can't seem to be competitive with our surrounding townships, and we keep losing these dedicated code enforcement investigators. So I hope that that can be addressed. A couple of things. I did want to acknowledge that one of the codes that has been changed, modified, is the parking and what constitutes a driveway. So that will be helpful because they can no longer park on the dirt, and hopefully that will reduce some of these occurrences. And the only thing that I am concerned about with the parking, as was mentioned, where there's over 40% parking or dedicated parking, whether it's dirt or grass, is that when they're given the code, it doesn't refer anything to the 40% rule. So if we have properties that are dedicating over 40% to parking and it consists of dirt and grass, they're just going to park, they're going to pave over that. So now what we just have compounded and created another, non-compliant condition. And then finally, I'm hoping to get some kind of update on the adjudication court that is forthcoming hopefully this year and where we're at that point. And it was also mentioned at one of our civic organizations that there is a list of town roads that are scheduled to be paved every year. And I'm wondering how we would get that list for 2025.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
you're very welcome. Thank you, Susan. Next speaker, Sonia Barra.
Angie Carpenter, all the board members. I never did this before. We're all aware of the fires in California. Now, if you drive, I'm choking here. If you drive along any of our highways, like Betts Highway, and you go down, you see all the logs and trees and everything in the woods. That's all kindling. If there's a fire, that's going to catch up and everything's going to burn. So I have a thought. Why not let all the men and their saws go in there with their trucks, cut it all up, and they can sell it for firewood or use it in their own homes, and that would clean out the forest little by little. And if you go down any roads anywhere, you just look in the woods. All these big trees and everything are just lying there. For what reason? And like I said, if there's a fire, these little animals can't run away. So wouldn't that be easier? It would save the board money, the town money, to have to pay for somebody to come in and do it. And it'll help the guys out. They'll have wood for their own homes and to sell cordwood. You see that along the roads too, by houses. So they would all make a little money.
Well, it's an interesting suggestion.
Well, I've only been thinking about it for about 2 years now. And I ride around all these roads and I see all these trees. It's silly to leave them there.
It would be an interesting project to embark upon. First of all, you'd have to know who owns the property, because you're coming down the road, even though one parcel may be contingent to another, there could be 2, 3 different property owners. Are they willing to let someone go on their property and take the risk of someone being injured on it? I mean, there are a lot of things that would have to be taken into consideration, but certainly it's something I'm going to have the appropriate departments look at and see how practical it might be.
I think that would be a good idea. And also, I mean, my brother-in-laws did this like 50, 60 years ago. They, go into the woods and take these logs. And why not? It helps everybody out. And clean up the forest a little bit,
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much for listening to me. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Next speaker, Lily Didabo. I hope I got that right.
Yeah, you do.
I didn't, right?
You got it right.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
great.
I just have such an easy question because I live in Oakdale my whole life. And I go down Byron Lake, and that water is disgusting.
Could you speak a little closer into the microphone, please?
Yes. The water in Byron Lake is not good, and I'm just wondering, is it okay for all the little animals to go in there, or should it be cleaned out? Because like when I was a little kid, I went down there, and you could see the bottom of the water, and it isn't like that now. It's like that for how many years? But I never told anybody, and now when I found out I can come here and complain, I want to tell you about the water. Is that supposed to be like that with the turtles and stuff? I don't know what they're supposed to be used to.
Well, I do know that the quality of the water at the lake there at Byron is something that was included in the project that we adopted with the pool. It included clearing or cleaning up the lake, the silt that was in there, and so forth. There are certain windows that you can do that kind of work based on DEC requirements. So I know that is a project that the Parks Department is working on.
Do they get water from the other side of the island? Like they used
I
to?
wouldn't venture to.
We used to have
answer
water
that.
coming from the north side into the water.
I'm not
That's what
sure
they
how
always
that
told
all
us.
Filters in.
I just,
Councilman O'Connor, do you know?
We're aware of the concern that you raise.
are you?
We are.
So if I
Most-
see you
most
down
recently is
there,
December.
I can come help you?
December. I should have invited you. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. It was cold.
Oh, no.
Myself, Commissioner Owens, Jonathan Stocker, John Hillenbrandt, and a potential consultant on behalf of the town. We're looking at that situation, so we're
Did you
working
s-
on it.
You saw something bad then? It's got to be fixed?
We saw the condition that you speak of, the water at Byron.
Did you? Yeah. Isn't that something? But when I was a little kid, it was all clear. And you could walk through it and swim. But that's my worry about the animals.
Well, thank you for coming down, Lily. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. This is the first time I'm down here. I
Well,
have
come
to
back.
come more often. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Next speaker, Greg Pepe.
I'm here today to speak against the Midway Crossing project up at MacArthur Airport, what's being proposed or the idea that's floating. You spent $26 million to improve the existing main terminals at Islip. Last month, we had two gentlemen here speaking on behalf of this main terminal, Midway North Terminal to be built. And after the meeting, me and a fellow resident approached these two, and we spoke with them, and pretty much they're looking to have shuttle drone flights from MacArthur to upstate Newburgh to Teterboro, and then back to Islip MacArthur Airport. So they're basically in dreamland or mimicking George Jetson here. But getting back to the Midway project, why would you do away with the existing terminals, move everything to the north end of the field? I mean, I worked 16 years at JFK for Pan American, all right, doing maintenance on aircraft. I don't understand the logic, and I talked to Mr. Guardiola on the phone about this. The North Terminal now supposedly is going to handle international flights, is what I'm being told. Now, why would you separate international terminal away from your main terminals if people want to connect to domestic flights? Say if you get a person from Canada flying from Montreal to Islip, they want to go to their final destination down, say, in Florida. They would have to then be transported from that north terminal to the south terminals. But that won't be the case because you want to tear down the existing terminals and put everything up on the north end, is from what I'm gathering. This is a $3.3 billion project is what they're talking about over 15 years. So I don't know if I have it wrong. I do. So what is it though, Angie? What are you proposing to do here with this?
Question and answer.
No,
period.
I understand.
But let me
No,
just
that's
say
okay.
that some of the information that you shared is not correct.
Okay, well,
But we'll get you something on it, all right?
yes, please do.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker, Miguel Terrell.
Good afternoon, members of the town board. My name is Miguel Terrell. I live at 40 Bancroft Road, Bayshore, New York, 11706. I am here as a concerned resident and advocate for our community's well-being. Roberto Clemente Park has been a cornerstone of our community for decades, a place where families gather, children play, and neighbors connect. However, it is disheartening to see that despite the recoveries of funds at the Attorney General's office, specifically intended for the park's improvement, progress has been slow and the community's input seems to have been unwanted. In May 2021, my organization, Uplift Our Towns, was approached by the Attorney General's office to lead community engagement aspects of this project. We worked with the AG's office for months, eventually bringing in other community organizations and residents to ensure a thorough and inclusive process. This effort aimed to capture what the community truly wanted in the park. However, throughout this process, the town showed little interest in community input. At one point, the town even requested the funds be redirected towards already promised projects such as the skate park. Despite the town's delay tactics, including removing Uplift from email communication with the AG's office, the community pressed forward. By April 25th, 2023, we finalized a list of prioritized projects with confirmation from the AG's office that there was enough money to fund the following four: a new basketball court, a standalone bathroom facility, completion of a walkway to connect with existing paths, a canopy area with chess, checkers, dominoes tables, and picnic seating. When this project began, a press conference was held at the park attended by the town, the AG's office, and the community. At that time, Attorney General Letitia James announced an initial commitment of $627,000 for park improvements. As of yesterday, we learned that the AG's office, that their portion of the recovered fund has grown to $1.3 million, excluding any accrued interest, and that's without what the town has. What concerns our community is that the funds are already available. There is no need to find money for these improvements. After enduring the hardships caused by the park's well-documented history, our community deserves answers and action. Specifically, we want to know, what are the reasons for the delays? What is the timeline for implementing these improvements? Why has the town resisted working with the community from the very beginning of this project, and even recently ignoring our emails regarding this matter? Roberto Clemente Park holds deep cultural and historical significance, and any decisions about its restoration or enhancements must reflect the needs and desires of the people it serves. I urge the town board to publicly share a clear plan and timeline for park improvements. Ensure that the recovered funds are fully utilized for the benefit of the park and the residents who rely on it. This is not just about a park. It's about respecting the community you were elected to serve. I respectfully request that you take swift and decisive action to prioritize Roberto Clemente Park and ensure that residents have a meaningful voice in shaping its future.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry, this letter is for you.
There are no other speakers who have signed up. I'll have a motion to close the public portion.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman McElway, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor, opposed, the public portion is closed. You know, despite reading Rule 6, there seemed to have been some misinformation. I'm not going to say lies, but misinformation shared. And to characterize the supervisor and/or any of the town board members showing little interest to Roberto Clemente Park is an outright, disingenuous is the kindest thing I can say. We've spent over $11 million on Roberto Clemente Park. No funds, please. If you speak out, you will be ejected. $11 million plus has been spent on Roberto Clemente Park. And the list goes on what has been done in that hamlet. And if you want an up-to-date update, come to the Brentwood Chamber of Commerce meeting this week, because they have asked me to come do a status of Brentwood, and you will see what we have done, the number of roads that have been paved, the attention that has been paid to that hamlet, like every other hamlet in this town. When the need is there, we address it and we answer. With that, we will go on to the agenda. Okay. The first item on the agenda is the Town of Islip Foreign Trade Zone. I would now call for a motion to convene by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Guardron. All those in favor, opposed, the meeting is convened. A quorum is present. Mr. Hemingway.
Great. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the Foreign Trade Zone Board. My name is Brad Hemingway. I'm the Executive Director for the Town of Islip Foreign Trade Zone, located in Ronkonkoma, New York. Just 3 items for your consideration today as we get the year underway, some contracts to have put before you. The first item being approval of the minutes from our October 22nd, 2024 meeting of the Town of Islip Foreign Trade Zone Board.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman McElway, second by Councilman Guardron. All those in favor, opposed, minutes are approved.
Next item is authorization for the Town of Islip Foreign Trade Zone Authority to enter an office cleaning contract with Clean and Reliable Services, Inc. for calendar year 2025 with an option to renew.
Any questions on this? Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman McElway. All those in favor, opposed, approved. Next item.
Lastly for today is the authorization for the Town of Islip Foreign Trade Zone Authority to enter into a contract with Quinn and Finer Service Company for heating and cooling maintenance at 1 Trade Zone Drive, Ronkonkoma, New York, 11779. also with an option for renewal.
Any questions? Motion by Councilman Guadrone. Second by Councilman McElway. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved.
I have
Any
no
other
further items.
Hearing none. Motion to adjourn the Islip
Thank you, Madam
Trade
Supervisor.
Zone. Motion and a second. It is adjourned. We move now to the meeting of the Town of Islip Industrial Development Agency. Call for a motion to convene. By Councilman McElway, second by Councilman Guadrone. All those in favor, opposed. The IDA Board is convened with a quorum present, and Mr. Walzer.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the Agency Board. John Walzer, Executive Director, 40 Nassau Avenue, Islip, New York. I have a number of items for your consideration today. The first item is to approve the minutes from the last Agency Board meeting on December 17th, 2024.
Any question on the minutes? Motion by Councilman Guadrone. Second by Councilman McElway. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved.
Thank you. The next item is to, the next item for your consideration is to approve the 2025 meeting schedule for the agency.
Do we have a motion? Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second. By Councilman McElway. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved.
Next is a resolution appointing officers to the agency.
We have a motion by Councilman Guadrone, second. By Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved.
Next for your consideration is to adopt an audit committee for the agency.
Motion? By Councilman McElway, second. By Councilman Guadrone. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved.
Next up for your consideration is to adopt the finance committee for the agency.
Make that motion, second. By Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved.
Next item for your consideration is to adopt the governance committee for the agency.
Motion? By Councilman Guadrone, second. By Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved.
Next item for your consideration is to adopt the code of ethics policy for the agency.
I'll make that motion by Councilman McElway, second. By myself. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved.
Next for your consideration is to adopt an investment policy for the agency.
Any questions? Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Guadrone. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved.
Next up is to adopt a procurement policy for the agency.
Motion? By Councilman McElway, second. By Councilman Guadrone. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved.
Next up for your consideration is to adopt a conflict of interest policy for the agency.
Motion? By Councilman Guadrone, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved.
Next up for your consideration is to adopt the travel authorization and mileage reimbursement policy for the
I'll
agency.
make that motion, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved.
Thank you. The next item for your consideration is to adopt a property disposition policy for the agency.
Motion? By Councilman McElway, second. By Councilman Guadrone. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved.
Next item for your consideration is authorization for the agency to enter into a contract for computer programming services.
There a motion? Motion by Councilman McElway, second. By Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved.
Okay, next for your consideration is authorization to enter into a marketing agreement with JVC Broadcasting.
Any questions? Motion? Motion by Councilman Guadrone, second. By Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved.
Thank you. The next item for your consideration is an inducement resolution between the agency and American Made Grills at 79 Carlo Road in Bohemia. The company is being relocated from California. They're a manufacturer of stainless steel luxury outdoor living appliances, including barbecues, sinks, cabinetry, and burners. This project represents a $1.5 million capital investment and the creation of 22 new jobs.
Motion by Councilman Guadrone, second by Councilman McElway. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved.
The next item for your consideration is also an inducement resolution between the agency and Northeast Aero Compressor Corp. At 30 Raisons Court in Hauppauge. This is a relocation and expansion of a service provider to the aviation community, providing inspection, repair, and overhaul of airplane components and systems. This project represents a $5.8 million capital investment, the retention of 77 jobs, and the creation of 27 new jobs.
Any questions? Motion by Councilman Guadrone. Second by Councilman McElway. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved.
Next item for your consideration is an inducement authorizing resolution between the agency and Steel Campus LLC. This resolution pertains to the Belmont at Eastview project, Phase 2, located at 300 Carlton Avenue in Central Islip.
Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Guardron. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved.
And the last item I have for your consideration is an inducement resolution between the agency and Prodose Inc., located at 2004 Orville Drive North in Ronkonkoma. Prodose packages, labels, and distributes pharmaceutical products. They recently purchased the assets of Spirit Pharmaceuticals. This project represents a $9.7 million capital investment, the retention of 120 jobs, and the creation of 20 new jobs.
Motion by Councilman Guardron, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved.
And that's all the business I have for the agency.
Thank you so much. Motion to adjourn by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Guardron. All those in favor? Opposed? We stand adjourned. Next item on the agenda is the meeting of the Town of Islip Economic Development Corporation. I'll make that motion to convene, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? We are convened, a quorum being present. Mr. Walzer.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the Corporation Board. As we get underway here for the new year, I have a number of items for your consideration, similar to the agency. We have to approve the minutes from the last Corporation Board meeting on December 17th.
Motion by Councilman McElway, second by Councilman Guardron. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved.
Also to approve the 2025 meeting schedule for the corporation.
Is there a motion? Motion. By Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman McElway. All those in favor? Opposed?
Okay, next up is a resolution appointing officers to the corporation.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Guardron. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved.
Thank you. The next item is to adopt an audit committee for the corporation.
So 5, 6, and 7 are to adopt committees. Audit Committee, Finance Committee, and Governance Committee. Can we take these in one motion?
Second.
One motion, great, by Councilman Guardron, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? 5, 6, and 7 are adopted. Likewise, with 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 and 13, these are all resolutions adopting policies.
Correct.
8 being Code of Ethics, 9 being investment, 10 procurement, conflict of interest, property disposition, and travel authorization and mileage. So I make one motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Guardron to adopt resolutions 8, 9, 10 through 13. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
And thank you for
any other
making that
business?
easier for me, Madam Chair. That's all the business we have today.
Thank you so much. Next, we will move to the board up cleanup resolutions. Jeff, if you would.
Good afternoon, Madam Supervisor, members of the Town Board and the Town Clerk. Jeffrey Panache, Assistant Town Attorney, 655 Main Street, Islip, New York. I do have 8 matters on for your consideration here today. Number 1, to board up the premises located at 27 Pine Top Drive in Central Islip. On this vacant and unsecured property, there now exists broken windows on the east side of the dwelling, as well as doors on the dwelling where previously affixed plywood has been removed, allowing access to its interior, which constitutes a nuisance and creates a fire safety and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions? Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Guardron. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved.
Number 2, to board up and clean up the premises located at 28 St. Andrew Drive in Brentwood. On this vacant and unsecured property, there now exists an unlocked door on the south side of the dwelling, allowing access to its interior, a hole in the southeast side of the dwelling, a damaged white pickup truck cap, an unregistered blue Chevrolet Monte Carlo, an unregistered brown Chevrolet pickup truck, as well as overgrown vegetation and litter and debris, which constitutes a nuisance and creates a fire safety and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with the property interest in this premises.
Any questions? Motion by Councilman Guardron, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Jeff, the next item, I believe, 60 West Drive. You were here, heard the woman who came forward, Kate, I believe her name was.
Yes, and I had an opportunity to speak with her out in the
great.
hallway as well.
Okay.
So I did explain to her the process.
And just one question as well. She mentioned in her comments that she had some items in the shed that she wanted to retrieve.
Yes, I explained to her, there's nothing preventing her from
Yeah,
doing
it's still
that.
her property. She has every right to go on it and remove whatever items she wants to from the shed. She owns the property. Nothing in this resolution changes that.
That is correct.
Thank you, Jeff.
Any questions?
Actually, I don't think I presented it yet. So,
Go ahead.
number 3, to clean up the premises located at 60 West Drive in Ronkonkoma. On this vacant property, there now exists overgrown vegetation as well as litter and debris, including cut tree trunks and branches, decaying vegetation, wood crates, and plastic coverings, which constitutes a nuisance and creates a fire safety and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
And that too answers her comment about notice. They will have notice.
Yes, that's correct.
Any questions? Motion? Motion by Councilman McElway, second by Councilman Guadron. All those in favor, opposed, approved.
Number 4, to board up the premises located at 69 Brightside Avenue in Central Islip. On this vacant and unsecured property, there now exists a broken window on the west side of the dwelling, a rectangular opening on the east side of the dwelling, an opening in the foundation of the dwelling allowing access to its interior, and a gap in the chain link fencing used to secure the property, which constitutes a nuisance and creates a fire safety and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with the property interest in this premises.
Any questions? Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Guadron. All those in favor, opposed, approved.
Number 5, to clean up the premises located at 75 Bushwick Avenue in Central Islip. On this vacant property, there now exists overgrown vegetation on the north side of the dwelling, as well as various items of litter and debris, which constitutes a nuisance and creates a fire safety and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions? Motion? By Councilman McElway, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor, opposed, approved.
Number 6, to board up and clean up the premises located at 131 Bell Avenue in Ronkonkoma. On this vacant and unsecured property, there now exists damaged aluminum siding in the rear of the dwelling, exposed electrical boxes and wires throughout, broken windows, a large hole in the dwelling allowing access to its interior, a wooded deck with no floorboards present, overgrown vegetation and various items of litter and debris scattered throughout the property, including construction debris, a discarded refrigerator, household trash, and other rubbish, which constitutes a nuisance and creates a fire safety and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions? Motion by Councilman Guadron, second by Councilman McElway. All those in favor, opposed, approved.
Number 7 has been withdrawn as the property is now in compliance. And number 8, to clean up the premises located at 971 Islip Avenue in Central Islip. On this vacant property, there now exists overgrown vegetation throughout, as well as litter and debris, including garbage bags, plastic bottles, plastic containers, decaying branches, discarded ottoman, and various other items of rubbish, which constitutes a nuisance and creates a fire safety and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions? Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman McElway. All those in favor, opposed, approved.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you very much, Jeff. We will move now to number 5, appropriation resolutions, appropriation transfers. Do I have a motion? And is there?
Since there was a request to add on an appropriation transfer for the emergency repair of taxiway H
At the airport, yes.
at the airport, we need a motion to waive.
Motion to set aside the rules and offer the resolution as presented to the town board.
Motion by Councilman O'Connor. I'll second that motion. All those in favor of adding that? That would have to be a separate motion. Vote, right?
That puts it before the board, and then
Right.
now. yeah.
Okay. So that is now included in the appropriation transfers. So I have a motion on the motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Guadron. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. That takes us to item 6, the appointment of Nancy Irwin as Deputy Commissioner of the Fair Harbor Dunewood Medical District. Any questions?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman McElway. I'll second that. All those in favor or opposed? It is approved. Item 7 is an approval of permitting the town controller to make any and all budget adjustments and journal entries in order to properly reflect the 4, operations for the town of Islip. Any questions? Motion? Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second.
Second.
By Councilman McElway. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 8, authorization for supervisor to enter into contract with PKF O'Connor Davies to perform the audit for the year ended December 31st, 2024. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second.
Second.
By Councilman McElway. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 9, authorization with the town clerk to advertise for a public hearing to consider amending the Town of Islip Uniform Traffic Code. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion by Councilman Quadrone, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 10, authorization with the supervisor to accept state and municipal facilities grant from the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York to go towards the installation of ADA ramps to the property located on Hunter Avenue in West Islip. Any questions?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman McElway. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 11, authorization supervisor to accept a state and municipal facilities grant for the installation of rapid flashing beacons on Gibson Street between South Park Avenue and Ocean Avenue in Bay Shore. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion by Councilman McElway, second by Councilman Guardone. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 12, authorization for supervisor to execute a contract with Suffolk Paving for DPW 1-2025, a requirements contract and specifications to furnish and install asphalt concrete on various town roads. Any questions? Motion by Councilman O'Connor.
Second.
Second by Councilman McElway. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 13, an agreement for the authorization rather for the supervisor to enter into several agreements for programs or events to be held throughout the town of Islip. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion. Motion by Councilman Guardone, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed?
I'm going to abstain.
We have 3 in favor, 1 abstention. Next, we move to item 14, authorization of supervisor to accept approximately 600 individual lunch servings from Catholic Health Good Samaritan University Hospital to be offered during the Fall Prevention Education Series at various senior centers throughout the town of Islip, and that's fall with a lowercase f, fall prevention. Motion by Councilman Guardone, second by Councilman McElway. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 15, authorization town clerk to advertise for a public hearing to consider a 1-year contract with Community Ambulance for providing emergency ambulance services. And just to note, again, misinformation, fake news, whatever you want to call it, not every fire department provides or is able to provide ambulance service, and that's why we have separate ambulance districts. I see the controller nodding his head back there. Thank you, Joe. Motion by Councilman O'Connor. I'll second that motion. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. That was item 15. We go to 16. Public hearing to consider a 1-year contract with Central Islip Hop Hog Volunteer Ambulance for providing emergency ambulance services. Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Guardone. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Next is an authorization of town clerk to advertise for public hearing to consider a 1-year contract with Brentwood Legion Ambulance Company for providing emergency ambulance services. Just to note, Brentwood Ambulance provides more calls than any other ambulance company, fire department, anywhere. They are quite busy and do a fine job, as they will do. Motion by Councilman Guardone, second by Councilman McElway. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 18, authorization town clerk to advertise for public hearing to consider a 1-year contract with Bayshore Brightwaters Rescue Ambulance for providing emergency ambulance services. Motion by Councilman McElway. I'll second that motion. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 19, authorization town clerk to advertise for public hearing to consider a 1-year contract with Exchange Ambulance Corporation of the Islips for providing emergency ambulance services. Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Guardone. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 20 is an authorization for supervisor to enter into a contract of sale with and execute a deal of conveyance to Steel Campus LLC and Marcus ISP Apartments Holding LLC. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Guardone. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 21, approval of the list of employees who are required to file a financial disclosure statement with the Town of Islip Board of Ethics. Motion
Motion.
by Councilman McElway, second by Councilman Guardrone. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 22, authorization for supervisor to consent to the assignment and assumption of the lease agreement for Lot 39 at Captree Island in the Great South Bay to Rebecca Leah Clark. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion? All in
Motion.
favor? Opposed?
One opposed.
Uh,
I'm sorry, one abstain. One
Okay,
abstain.
we have 3 in favor, 1 abstention. The motion passes. Item 23, authorization supervisor to consent to the assignment and assumption by Eric Juntunin to Tanya Fuchs and Mark Shervany for certain real property located on Happamire Island in the Great South Bay. Are there any questions? Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman McElway, second by Councilman Guardrone. All those in favor? Opposed?
One no.
We have 3 in favor, 1 in opposition. The motion passes. Item 24, authorization for supervisor to enter into a vehicle lease agreement with Suffolk County Office of the Aging for the purpose of providing a 12-passenger bus to be utilized by the town's Division of Senior Citizens. Motion by Councilman Guardrone, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. You know, that service of the buses, and we thank, actually, initially federal government funds that, Congressman Garbarino and everyone else involved. But I drive to work and I go down my block, and invariably, almost every morning, I see this lady, when the weather is not like it is now, sitting on her stoop, waiting for the senior bus to come take her to the senior center. And it's such a lifeline and a wonderful service that we provide. So to everyone in the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs that does that, we thank you for that. Okay, next is an authorization for supervisor to execute an amendment to the professional services agreement with P.W. Grosser Consulting in connection with the proposed dredging of the Browns River Marina West and East. Motion by Councilman O'Connor. Second, I'll second that if you don't mind. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. 26 is the authorization for the supervisor to execute the third option year related to the Breeze Aviation Group airline use and lease agreement. This is year 3 of a 5-year initial agreement. This airline is going to 9 different destinations nonstop from Islip Airport, non-Florida destinations. The majority of them are to Charleston and Portland, Maine in the summer. It's been a real success story. And they were born at Islip MacArthur Airport, Breeze Airways. So I'm going to make that, well, I won't make that motion. Councilman O'Connor made the motion, second by Councilman Guardrone. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Next is an authorization for the supervisor to execute an agreement with Suffolk County for Long Island MacArthur Airport to collect funds as outlined in a recent amendment to Suffolk County Local Law 13. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Guardrone. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Next is the appointment of a delegate and alternate delegate to attend the 2025 Association of Towns Annual Meeting. Any questions? Motion? Motion by Councilman Guardrone, second by Councilman McElway. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 29, acceptance of a monetary donation from the Town of Islip Housing Authority to be used for the Town of Islip's 39th annual Just Say No to Drugs Sharpshooter Basketball Contest, which will be held Saturday, March 1st. Any questions? Motion by Councilman Guardrone, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Next is the bid awards. Any questions? Motion?
Motion.
By Councilman McElway, second by Councilman Guardrone. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 31, option year resolutions. Again, are there any questions? Hearing none. Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman O'Connor, second by Councilman Guardrone. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Next is an authorization for the acceptance of a deed for sidewalk access located at the south side of the parcel conveyed by JOL Holdings LLC and Steel Campus, the second LLC, to be dedicated to the Town of Islip. Are there any questions? Motion by Councilman Guardrone, second by Councilman McElway. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Next is an authorization of the acceptance of a deed to land on the west side of Eisen Avenue, conveyed by EB at Vets Highway 2 LLC to the town of Islip for highway purposes. Any questions? Motion? Motion by Councilman Quadrone, second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Item 34 is an authorization for supervisor to execute change order number 2 for Austin Interiors in connection with the main terminal building, MEP for general contracting services at Long Island MacArthur Airport. Any questions? Motion by Councilman Guadrone, second
Second.
by Councilman McElway. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. Again, to correct some fake news, I am not proposing that we destroy the existing terminal. Item 35, next is an authorization for supervisor to enter into a one-year contract renewal and amendment of the professional service agreement between Lyral Engineers for site plan review for commercial development within the town of Islip. Any questions? Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman McElway, second by Councilman Guadrone. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved. The final item on the agenda today is the adoption of a policy that allows the supervisor to execute any lease agreement that will provide each board member the option of maintaining an office within the geographic boundaries of their respective district, in addition to having an office made available within Town Hall.
If I may,
You
because
may.
there is some confusion about this resolution, I make a motion to table it.
We have a motion and a second to table. Hopefully, it will be clarified, because we have never paid to lease space for council members in the history of the town that I'm aware of. And I think this would be a bad precedent to set in expending taxpayer dollars. So there's a motion and a second to table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is tabled. And no other business to come before us. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Second by Councilman O'Connor. All those in favor? Opposed? We stand adjourned.